Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's me again. I'm going to make two or three little short videos this morning. It seems like the shorter ones are easier to make and quicker to upload. And I'm going to give you some lecture information for the week and talk about some other general midterm stuff. So this first one is for all three of my classes, my two English 1Bs and my one section of English 1A. We're coming up on midterms in a couple of weeks. There aren't any midterm exams in this class, so you don't need to worry about that. And in fact, I'm not required to enter midterm grades, but I usually do just for your benefit so you kind of know where you stand in the middle of the term. So you might want to go in and look under the My Grades button, which is on the class website, and there's a column there called GPA Grade Point Average, and that tells you where you stand right now in terms of percentage, and a letter grade is attached. Okay, so you'll be able to tell from that if you need to make any changes or if you're where you need to be or want to be. You can figure out what changes you need to make. Typically keeping with the rules of the definitions of insanity, unless something changes for you, unless something gets substantially better or substantially worse, that's where you're going to be, probably for the rest of the term, unless changes happen, either good or bad. In terms of your essays, I got overnight somewhat over 100 papers to grade. That's 100 papers to grade, yes. And I simply am not going to rush through those and do a poor job because I take that part of my work quite seriously. So, to tell you the truth, I may get them graded by the end of next week, and I may not. I will do my best, but I'm not going to make myself crazy, and I'm not going to shortchange you by rushing through them. So chances are where you are right now in that GPA is chances are where you're going to be in 2 weeks, and chances are, and like I said, unless something changes, where you are now, what you've been doing now, unless you change something, is probably what you're going to continue to do for the rest of the term. You've already set for yourself how things are going to go. So in terms of GPA, in case you're interested, I pulled up the stats on our classes. In the English 1A class, which has 29 students on the roster, 15 of those students have either a B or an A grade. So of 29, more than half of you guys are doing either well or extremely well. That's half the class. Okay? In the 1B section 1220, there are 23 students on that roster, and 13 of them are passing with a B or an A. So again, we're roughly half the class. Slightly more than half the class is doing well or extremely well. And in the 1B section 1368, which also has 23 students in it, 14 of you are pulling a B or an A. So half, again, in all three of my classes, half the students are doing well or extremely well. You're pulling a B or an A. So that tells me, the only thing of value to me is that tells me the class isn't too hard. In fact, if I were a believer in statistics and I was looking at those numbers, I'd say the class is too easy. Too many people are pulling high grades. But, I'm not a believer in statistics, so don't worry about that. You are where you are, and that's fine. We can deal with that. So, the fact that half your colleagues are doing well or extremely well says we're where we should be. So if you're not doing so well, then you should look at what you're doing or not doing, that's a result of those lower grades, and there are some people who haven't done anything. It's a result of choices you've made. And maybe you can make different choices and maybe you can't. That's not for me to judge. And I'm not going to preach at you about that. What is going to happen at midterm is I'm going to be dropping some folks who've been blowing off the forums week after week after week. You can take this however you want, but this is really much more about me than it is about you. When I see a student who's clearly going to fail the class, and has already set in motion that process of failure, I'm simply not going to be complicit in that process if I can avoid it. Because it comes down to the end of the term and I have to fail a student who hasn't really done much. I feel bad about that. I sometimes lose sleep over that. I worry about that and what that person will be doing in the world. And so I know it's dumb, but that's how I feel about it. So if a student is not doing the work, and by that I mean blowing off the forums week after week after week, then that person's going to go away so that I don't have to feel bad about failing that person at the end of the term. That's how it works. You can take it however you want, but that's how it works. So that's going to happen around midterms. I probably won't drop anybody else. I've warned a few people, and most of them have completely ignored my attempt to reach out to them. So I've done all I can. I'm probably not going to make any other moves until the end of next week, and then some folks are going to go away. And again, take it however you want. And I'm probably not even talking to the people who need to hear this speech, but there it is. Okay. So that's the end of this one. I'm going to post this one, and then we'll come back and talk about some more specific things for the different sections. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Bye.